just rename them. So this one we'll call T, this one we'll call Sil for cylinders, box, and we'll add in one more for the spheres. And we can add any of these to these layers really quickly by just kind of dragging them over. And you can see that you could update which layer you're working on by just kind of clicking on the arrow and set the different properties of the object. So, a few nice things that you can do is, we can hide a sphere as well as freeze another one, and then you can, of course, set the layer property for that, which will kind of override what's going, so everything will get either hidden or frozen, and then it'll come back afterwards, and you can adjust, per object what those types of things are. You can set the properties of any layer by going to properties and just quickly set it to X-ray or any one of these box mode properties that you want to have here, which is really pretty interesting. You set it to renderable, primary visibility, all these different layer properties are real quick and easy to set, and they propagate down to the children of whatever happens to be on that layer. This color looks a little bit similar to one of the other ones we have, so we'll change that around. There we go. One other nice thing that you can do here is add an actual layer group, and this is something that doesn't exist as another level of hierarchy in Mac. So if I click on add a layer group, it'll add this new layer subset that you can put a bunch of layers in. So we can just call this sphere, and we'll put the spheres and the cylinders in here. And then we have this layer group, which also has its own set of properties that you can set. So you can, set all those to be X-ray or anything like that, and it will control the layers that are underneath while they still have their own parameters. So, maybe this would be in box mode, but all of these should be frozen, in which case they'll be frozen or hidden at some point. So it just gives you another level of control that you can deal with your objects, and then you can always go back in on either the layer or the object basis and set things to hidden and frozen, which is really pretty useful. So another helpful tree view thing that we can do, and I'm just going to pin this over to the side, and that way I can pop it out anytime I want. I'll just adjust the size that it pops out, and if I ever need access to these layers, it'll just be hanging out over here, which is good, is adding them to an advanced tree view. So I'm going to grab 2 cylinders, these 2 boxes, these 2 spheres, and I'm just going to go down, put them into a new layer. So I'm going to say put into new tree view, and it'll put them all into this tree view. So this tree view is really helpful because it actually has all the parameters for the objects themselves. So if we go into this sphere, for instance, you can see that it has its material, its object parameters, and things like the radius we can adjust really quickly. Another great thing about Zookeeper is whether you're in a tree view or a schematic view, you can take these things and adjust them both at the same time. So if we have any other object selected and we just are going to adjust a radius, it'll select them both and it'll do them at the same time. And if they don't have the same radius, that's fine. It will just kind of pick the amount value that you're actually using and either add it or take it away. And it doesn't matter whether this is a cylinder or a teapot or a sphere for that matter. It'll adjust them all as long as they have the same parameter name, which is pretty useful. So if we go into the cylinder, you can see that it has a bend modifier on it, in which case I can go into parameters, angle, and I can start to adjust that. And if I want to, I can select any one of the other cylinders which also have this. So I'll grab this guy, and you can see that one is a little bit bent, but now they'll both bend with that angle. And anything from segments to anything else you can do. So if I grab both of these guys and just adjust their segments, you can see both of their segments will get adjusted together. When editing in the advanced tree view, it's obviously great to be able to see all these different parameters, but it does become pretty cumbersome to have all of them in the scene. That's where our filters and the search capabilities really come into play. So if we just go into the search box here, we can search for things like radius, and all the objects in this view that have a radius, the cylinders and both spheres we have selected, are here. Your parents are subdued with a lower opacity and everything else is filtered out. So then you can select whatever it is that you need and just go in and start to adjust those things, which is really pretty helpful. So we could go in and just type in taper amount, and we get that amount for these 2 box objects. So we just select them and adjust that amount, And then we'll type in curve to get the curvature, and just adjust that curvature there. So we can do this pretty effectively using the filters as well as the search box to get through that huge amount of data, and then use multi-select and multi-edit in order to edit all the parameters across different objects or with modifiers or anything else that we want. So hopefully that will be helpful in your workflow. So that's a little bit about working in the tree views of Zookeeper and how it could make your experience of having thousands of objects in a scene, organize them a little better via filters and object selections, layer views, grouping things together, as well as adjusting them through either the schematic views or the advanced tree views so that you can adjust and edit multiple things at the same time. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.